Joined now by Brent Bozell, president of the Media Research Center. He wrote one of those articles against Donald Trump. Brent, good morning. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning, Martha.
So why do this?
Well, because I think we have to come to our senses collectively. Look, what's going on out there? There is a fury, an absolute fury at Washington for years of betrayal, especially from the Republican establishment. I share in that. I don't think there's anybody who's been more furious than I have been. But you can't just tap into that and into that vein and pretend that you are going to do something about it, when in fact you have a record, a real record of being the opposite on everything, and you are a shameless self-promoter, you're a huckster, and you're selling only yourself. God help this country if this man were president and continued this way. That's why we're speaking out.
When you look at the crowds, right, and you listen to his supporters, we get messages from them like we do from everybody else's supporters all the time on Twitter, on social media. They believe him. He has connected with them. And he is not claiming to carry the conservative mantle. He is claiming to carry his mantle. And, many have said, as National Review has said, he is a populist candidate, and at the moment he is extremely popular with the people. So I guess some might say, who are you to tell them that they don't know what they're hearing and seeing?
Well, because I just asked people to listen to Donald Trump and what he has been. This is a man
he says he changed his mind about things.
You can't just overnight after, people have been saying this, that there's been this road to Damascus transformation. Okay, your entire career you've been one thing, and suddenly on the eve of the Republican primaries, suddenly you're the exact opposite. You're no longer a Democrat, you're a Republican. You're no longer for Planned Parenthood, you're against Planned Parenthood, except you're actually for it. The wall, and Mexico's somehow going to build it. These are things that sound so good, and if I believe them, I'd be behind them on them right now. In fact, you've got real conservatives with real solutions, and they are really going to change the country, which is why I endorse Ted Cruz for president personally. But let me say one more thing, Martha, and I take this personally. I would ask Donald Trump to stop invoking William F. Buckley at this moment. I take this very personally. My uncle would never support his candidacy. He would never get behind this outrage. And for Donald Trump to tap into that vein is offensive, and I wish he'd cut it out.
He, basically invoked William Buckley when he talked about New York values. He said William F. Buckley was from New York.
Who didn't even live, Martha, didn't even live in Manhattan, for God's sakes.
All right. Regardless of that, he's not saying that he is carrying the mantle, as I said, of you and other writers who write for the National Review. And so, don't you believe? The people of this country are about to speak. They're going to speak in Iowa. They're going to speak in New Hampshire. You all have spoken out about your opinions on this. Many people, when it comes to Ted Cruz, who you support, say that he also has been quite nimble in changing his opinions on things over the years because he very much wants to be president of this country, and that he also has changed his opinions on things. What do you say about that?
Very simple. There's the whisper campaign going on right now from the establishment saying they support Trump over Cruz. Why? Because they believe Trump is malleable. They believe they can work deals with him. They don't believe him and his rock-ribbed populism and conservatism. They believe he's out for himself. They know Ted Cruz can't be bought. They know they can't play that game with him. They've seen him in action in Washington. He has been the steadfast supporter of limited government, strong national defense, traditional values, and they know he's not going to put up with any of their nonsense. So, if you are a populist wanting to fundamentally change Washington, D.C., understand this, folks. The establishment wants Trump, not Cruz.
All right, but what you just said really reminded me a lot of what Sarah Palin said the other night. She said the same thing, that the people inside the Beltway are fighting so hard to preserve their way of life that, in fact, some of them, GOPers, would even want Hillary over Trump or over Cruz. But she says, you know, you watched her as she stood out there and supported Donald Trump. She said he's the guy. He's the one that we need to get behind. And people see Ted Cruz as unable to pull together any sort of group of people on the Hill when he's had trouble even getting his own GOP senators behind him.
They said, Martha, they said the same thing about Ronald Reagan. The establishment did this to Ronald Reagan. They did it to Barry Goldwater. They've done it to conservatives for years. He can't work with us. He can't get along with anybody. He's a disaster. He's an extremist. This will be the Republicans. By the way, and then they invoke the 11th Commandment, and they say you shouldn't criticize them. And the anger and the hatred they're showing toward Ted Cruz. Why did Bob Dole say he supports Donald Trump over Ted Cruz? Again, they believe Trump is malleable. I don't know why Sarah did what she did. They believe he's malleable. They know Ted Cruz isn't. So, if you're a conservative wanting to change America, I think it's just a clear-cut choice.
Brent Bozell, thank you very much. Good to have you here today, sir.